All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Autonomy podcast. And today it's going to be a banger. I promise you that. Judy in the house today, and welcome by no other than, you know him.
Boss man. The boss is here.
Really excited to have you on this part of the podcast today, and I'm pretty sure a lot of our clients and people who follow you are interested to know your journey and how you have become into this business in the first place. Because let's face it, a lot of people come in and they're following you and watching your Instagram posts and your content, and they want to know why is a white dude talking about
Always.
Indian food?
Always. I mean, that is the needle in the, I guess, the thing that people want to know the most. Even if before they hear anything, they can hear what I say and they agree, but they still want to know so they can tick a box that it's not racism or people taking the piss or it's a joke or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, it looks for us and the team, it's just normally what we do. We've done this for the last 7 years. I've worked with, every part of the South Asian community over a 7-year period, and just got really, really good at it. And it was not something that people were like, oh, dude, you've got a great business model. I'm like, this is not how wasn't how it started. Now a business, now it's a big business, global business. But beforehand, it was, hey, I'm working for somebody else that was Gujarati, and I needed to get good at helping Gujarati people because I didn't want to look like an idiot. I hate looking like an idiot, and I want to help people. Before working with the Indian community, South Asian community, I was London's best personal trainer with normally like people in the corporate world. I was doing that, minding my own business, and then I opened this can of worms that was working with the South Asian community because I was helping my friend out. And then because I didn't know what the food was, and looking at food pictures and seeing like saag paneer and thinking, what's this green thing? I had to get really good at it, and that's how it just started, that love affair, to the point where when I decided to move into my own business and create Autonomy, I didn't have anything that this is what I've done in private. This is what I do in my day-to-day. Is what I would do if I didn't have a business and it was for free. I would do the same thing I'm doing right now, but I had to showcase on social media. I had to showcase externally to get more people and help more people. So that's where the criticism comes in. People just see the external view as opposed to the journey of when I started within the Gujarati community.
Yeah.
I went to clients' houses, I stayed with them, I slept in their back bedrooms because I was like, I need to know what happens culturally that's different to mine. I want to see Bar across the table, which is grandma, how she's the leader of the house and how she interacts and how she forces more food on the table so that when clients say, I couldn't say no, I feel like it's rude. I've seen that happen in real life because I wanted to see these interactions. I wanted to see what it was like going to weddings and experiencing the food, the differences between the culture of the US Indians and the UK Indians and the Kenyan Indians and the Singaporean and the Malaysian Indians, and how they're all intertwined with some commonalities, but all have their own spin-offs of variations.
Yeah.
And then the religious diets within itself is a whole new ballgame, and that's an interesting field within itself. So I had to get really good, and these intricacies, obviously, it's my ADHD that I can't leave it alone. I have to do it. I have to know everything. Otherwise, I feel like an idiot, and I can't help as many people as I want to.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear as well. Part of you feeling the need to step up and help the South Asian community as well with a lot of things that, from your experience, you felt they struggled with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was observing in the, from the back end. I was just helping the people that was in front of me. But when you work with people for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you see the same cycles, the same commonalities, the same struggles, you start building up this annoyance that it's not changing. And you question what you're doing, and you question your methods, your diet, your carb strategy, your training programs, your accountability methods, how you speak to somebody. Because as a coach, it's not just about what you give, it's the terminology, the tone, the texture, the experience, the context, the story that you give that allows people to achieve their goals. And I was auditing all of these things, but on the flip side, I was also auditing from outside looking in some of the things that I wasn't privy to. I'd never had family members that would force food on me. I never had social expectations of getting a job as a lawyer, as a dentist, and the waiting around those things. I never had an experience of living with my family until I was in my 30s waiting to get married. I left at fucking 19. I was like, I'm ready to go. These motherfuckers are kicking my ass. I'm going. So I was viewing this from a complete new exposure. So I was able to see potential flaws outside of the food and nutrition that was leading to poorer nutrition and training and lifestyle habits. So I became frustrated with some of the nuances that were considered normal.
Yeah.
And I wanted to challenge normal, because if normal is type 2 diabetes, if normal is 2 out of 10 females are in menopause between the ages of 30 and 39 in the Indian community, all of these small stats, that's not a great place to be. And if I'm here to help, I can't just tread on eggshells around some of the common norms. I have to go and shatter the glass to show the other side of the gate, you know? So I started getting frustrated with my own coaching, but also getting frustrated with the norms that people are just seeing that's normal and we can't change them. I'm like, you can change anything. I moved out in 19, you know, I had a knee replacement. You can do whatever you want. You just have to be willing to do the hard thing.
Yeah. Was that part of what made you feel conflicted about stepping into this role, like, you know, with like your background or like, you know, your upcoming as well?
I think, no, do you know what? When I worked for somebody else, when I worked at the place beforehand, I never had a problem voicing idiosyncrasies or common things that were within the community that were annoying, or like were stopping people from getting results. And I had no problem. We used to do like a Zoom meeting on a Friday where me and my friend Kunal, who also runs a very good big business now for helping South Asians, we just used to sit there and joke, like, that's a norm, you know, like someone asking for seconds on a plate, or like eating, like, for example, I'll give you a random one that isn't South Asian, but it's like when it's warm outside, people have ice cream because it's warm outside. Yeah. So we would pick on these idiosyncrasies. It makes no sense that you would eat ice cream when it's warm outside, because why are you changing your food preferences because it's the weather outside?
Yeah.
You know, these are idiosyncrasies that people just assume are normal. And we'd pick on these things and we'd find plans around them. So I had no problem when it wasn't just me. When I was with a team and I was the cast, not the star guy.
Yeah.
So when it came to running my own business, it was more of a case of, okay, now I'm seeing the dichotomy of when I have to put myself out there to strangers who don't know me, which wasn't the case. There was a community that already knew who I was. They'd already seen podcasts, seen YouTube. They already knew who I was. And it's the opinion of strangers that held me back a bit and being like, oh, shall I do this? Shall I not? And I still get that to some of this degree to this day, where I'm like, shall I not? Shall I say this? Shall I not? But at the end of the day, it's like, I always have to come back to, does this help more or does it help less? Period. If it helps more for the right people, I'm in. Yep. If it helps less to the right people, I'm out. And the people who would hate me anyway are going to make comments anyway. So I had to learn that.
That's really interesting to hear as well, like, you know, the difference between your background and how you applied the conflicts in your background to start this business. Now, let's talk about starting the business. You know, when we start something new, there's always mistakes, things that go wrong. We learn from them, we course correct, and we move on. What did you feel like, you know, went wrong for you at the beginning, and how did you learn from these mistakes about the needs of the South Asian community?
Yeah, so I think when you look at fitness, you can kind of put it into two categories. You can go short-term solution, long-term solution, and you can hop on the trend of 6-week challenges and 12-week results and before and after photos, and either get caught up in that or be against it. And then in the flip side is that the opposite to that is the longevity crowd, the habit crowd, the trying your best crowd, the 6th place certificate model, where as long as you're trying your hardest, it doesn't matter what results that you get. And I think when we first started, so everyone's coming into the house. We work from here on a Thursday, hence why the door is here. So I think I made the mistake at the beginning of focusing too much on long-term sustainability, because what happened is that at the last place I worked, as I mentioned, I'd seen a lot of people go through a process, and I was getting frustrated at some of the problems. And one of the problems was that people would do a diet, they'd do a photo shoot, and they'd gain their weight back afterwards. And that weight was often left to me feeling frustrated, me feeling like I was the idiot, I wasn't the great person, I wasn't a great coach, and I just wanted to solve that problem and never let that problem happen again, which was a great thing because that's how autonomy was born. It was
Yep.
born because of the frustration that people wouldn't keep the results long term. But in me trying to go all in on long-term results, I forgot what made short-term change, and actually what made long-term change possible. It's a cascading effect. So I forgot that change happens in the short term, and then leads to long-term change. I was just trying to solve long-term change without forgetting that people need quick wins. They need to feel motivated. They need to go from day number 1 to day number 30 in the best way possible. So I guess we focused on long-term sustainability as opposed to the shorter-term results, which normally led to long-term sustainability in the first place. So we'd have this ideation that habits was the best, lifestyle was the best, sustainability was the best, but we'd have nobody ever get to that stage because they didn't get the results in the short term that they thought that they wanted because they were so motivated in that short term. Psychology of humans is we want things now, we want things fast, and we want to get out of pain as much as possible. I was 2 steps ahead of them already, thinking, yeah, you want that now, but you guys get fat afterwards and we need to stop that. So I made that mistake initially. Now we blend the both really, really good.
Yeah. That's really interesting to hear because that's also a mindset of somebody who takes this as their life's work. So that takes me to my next question is, when did this stop being a business and it became your life's work?
I think the concept of helping other people has always been my life's work. My mum was a nurse. My dad was a teacher, and the saying that we have for my dad is like he would give his last Rolo to you, and obviously Rolos are those sweets, and they normally come in those tubes. He would give you the last one of those, even if he would go without. So I've always come from a caring background. So whatever I was going to do was always going to have a caring feature to it. It was always going to have a nature of giving back, and I've always been taught like that as well. So when I became a personal trainer, and when I became London's best personal trainer, that was just a method to helping. So my life's work has always been, I'm going to take what has worked for me, what has been frustrations for me, what has become obstacles and objections, and how I've overcome them. And there's always been a thing in my brain, and this came from actually, a long, long time ago when I used to go to church at home, was I always wanted to be like the lighthouse on the side of a mountain, on the side of a cliff, where you would guide people by the light of that you're shining. And that was kind of my ethos in anything that I do. So whether it's fitness, whether it's mentoring other businesses for business stuff, whether it's even just guidance around my personal life, I've always wanted to be that beacon. Yeah. So that's when it was always my life work. But I guess the rock or the cliff that I'm on, and the one that we're on right now, that we landed on, is working with the South Asian and Indian community. Yeah. And having that beacon from an unnatural source, from someone that you wouldn't, an unlikely hero, to be able to help massively.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great to hear. And with every business that we do or anything we do, there's always humps, challenges, positives, negatives. So my next question would be, has there ever been a time where you thought about quitting? And if that was the case, because apparently you're here, what pulled you back?
I think quitting was never an option, but probably close to changing direction was at some point. I think when we first went viral, it was one of those moments where 2.2, 2.5, 3 million people had saw the Instagram post. And at that point, we were still running let's call a spade, but at that point, we were still running a 7-figure business. We were still running 15 team members. It was still big. We had a lot of people come from referrals. We had lots of people in the UK and Kenya. And at that moment in time, it did 2 things. One is it imploded and we got a lot of interest, but I got a verbal and visual view of the opposite reaction, which I was always not privy to. You have 1 or 2 people. I've had some of my closest friends say who dates a Gujarati girl, and she's like, what he's doing is white privilege and all this type of stuff. A very, very small 1 or 2 kind of incidents, but that's very small. You brush it off and be like, okay, your opinion is your opinion, great. But when you get 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 people at the same time tell you the exact same thing that you're scared that you're doing and don't want to be known as that type of racist, person who's colonizing people, you're taking the piss out of Indian people, you're being derogatory, whatever it is. And actually I'm doing the opposite by caring so much that okay to run the risk and actually tell you what's maybe not moving you in the right direction towards your nutrition, health, and lifestyle goals. But I'm willing to risk that conversation and that pushback so that you get the real information, because comedy and truth always run on a fine line between like hating it or loving it. And I've always worked based on the same way that comedy works, which is like the best jokes are the ones that you're thinking, that you know, but you're not willing to say. And then the best jokes are the ones that you say and you're thinking at the same time, but no one else is willing to say. So I always view myself as that kind of, anyway, back to the conversation, is like that moment where there was like 10,000, 15,000 people straight in my inbox telling me that I'm, colonizing brown people again, and like I'm responsible for what happened to them with their belly fat in 50, 100 years ago. And I'm like, I didn't realize this was the opinion and what would happen if someone cared to help.
Yeah.
And that was tough. It would never stop me from doing it. If anything, like I like being that annoying person that doesn't give up. I like proving people wrong. I like going from zero to hero. And I also like, from a personal challenge perspective, I like the ability to grow as an individual, to take that on the chin and actually make something better, even despite the noise. So, yeah, I would never give up. It's just it's hard at the top, they say, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, totally get it. All right, let's jump into a bit of a more technical question.
Yeah.
Which part of the South Asian experience do you feel most fitness coaches completely miss?
Yeah, so super simple. It's the transition between things that are considered normal, as I mentioned before. So the things like what food represents within the community, but then also the level of education of what you can do and what you can't do. So depending on where you are, from US to Kenya to Dubai to the UK, there are that common themes, which is like food is everything. It's loved, it's desired, it's happy, it's sad, it's in the moments of weakness, it's wedding season, it's Diwali, it's Christmas, it's Father's Day, whatever it is, there's always a reason to have the food on the table and to everybody to share. And it's obviously a form of love for family members to share that. That's a commonality. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. There are periods where that can be incredibly useful and amazing. And I do the same thing. You go out for dinner with your partner or your friends, and you're looking for that to enhance your experience. A good dinner enhances experiences of friends and family. But if that's not the experience, it's the addition of the experience. Most people see it as everything's about the food and the people afterwards, which is not ideal. So I think transitioning from food being everything to being part of the day, part of the week, as opposed to everything about the day and everything about the week, where you're trying to get joy from food initially, in all ways, shape or form. I think that's obviously a key determinant psychological factor. I think just the concept of what is yes or no to food, within the South Asia community, we get these nondescript black and white questions all of the time, which is this food good or bad? Can I have this, yes or no? And because food is emotional, the way that people step it away from being emotional is they ask black and white questions because they don't want to hear nuance. They don't want to hear particular. They don't want to have to deal with that. They want an easy answer. So they'll be like, is rice bad? Yes or no? Is curd bad? Yes or no? Can I have rajma and chana on a diet? Yes or no? And therefore, what people have is they have this fearfulness of ingredients. So people will come and be like, oh, I can't eat that. It's bad. It's like, says who? I can't have chevro on a diet. Someone told me, no, I can't do that. I can't have the savory fried stuff on a diet. I can't have a samosa. Rajman doesn't have enough protein in, or, I have to have this because of that. I have to have my chai in the morning. Yes, no. And that then creates this dichotomy, which the reality is around nutrition is you can have everything, but you can't have everything. You can have anything, but not all of it. So like you can have chai, you can have Rajman, you can have chana, you can have anything, chevro gati, you can dosa sambar, I can name it, you got it. But it's how you have it determines everything. But most people have a yes or no, and then they have this negative impact of how food lives. Because when you do something that is a no, you then feel bad, which then creates guilt and shame, which is a whole different topic within the South Asian community. Yeah. And then when you create guilt and shame, where you create a no, you double down because you hit the fuck it button. And the yeses and nos around food cause the fuck it button more times than not, so you always overconsume food. So there are some like small intricate details that you probably wouldn't consider that are massive implications. And then the last one is the guilt and shame around food. So guilt and shame is the top pillar, because it's even in the research within the South Asian community, most people don't see how prevalent it is because it's normal. Like, oh, have the second plate of food because your grandparents in India struggled to have one plate of food. I've heard this at dinner tables, obviously in Hindi, which I didn't understand, but then I got my voice memo out and I converted it into transcripts, and then they told me what they said afterwards, so I made sure I got it right. I've heard these kind of moments where people are like, the guilt is crazy. Oh, you need to do this because of this. Or you need to do that because of that. You can't do that because of this. What do you think people would think if you did that? Like, I've heard people say, oh, I want to change job career, and like, what do you think the people at the temple are going to think? Who gives a fuck? You know, like, do you know what I mean? like, but that's guilt and shame. So that's pillar number one, and then that drives every behavior from doing something because your parents want you to do it, feeling guilty for saying no to them, eating food when they tell you that they want you to eat food. All of the not fitting in social environments. That's another part of guilt and shame, because I don't want to be left out. I don't want to feel like I'm not part of the family. That's guilt and shame based on all of these derivatives of what normal is. Now, we can't help you solve that, but we unpick each one of the environments so that you gain more control, hence autonomy, over each of those environments, so that you feel more in control with your decisions. So if you want to indulge, cool, do it. But this is the consequences to making those decisions.
Yeah.
You want to have dose of sambar, this is how you have it, and still lose weight. So it's all of those moments. Anyway, I'm going off that. I can talk about those type of like deeper things that no one wants to acknowledge is a problem, and it's too deep to change the people around you. But the beautiful thing is, the people who are in control of themselves see it as something that they control for the next generation.
Yeah.
We're in a position now where Indians between the age of 26 and 39 are in a different headspace than their parents. They're seeing type 2 diabetes, they're seeing pills, pops, and potions. Then they're also seeing the social media prevalence of what society looks like with boobs, bums, BBLs, and physiques, and what you can achieve, and the next level performances and longevity, and people living to 120, whatever his name is, that Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
They're going, I would rather be on that side than have this type 2 diabetes with you, and you're eating 7 rotis per meal. I'm probably not going to do that. And there's this change happening within that age group that go from that following the same path to making those changes.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a really good golden age of like stopping the buck within the community, if you get on with the trend of stopping the buck and not being the person that just passes it down a generation, which, I've got everything that my parents gave me, and they've got everything that my grandma and granddad gave them. And I'm the one that's gone for, I use my own example, which is I'm the only person in my family out of over 35 people that don't have a BMI over fucking 30. Mm-hmm. I'm the only person. And if anything, a couple of my aunties are 130 plus kilos. Like, when we go around their house, crazy food, because they know how to eat, clearly. Yeah. And I had to change that for myself. And then, so I know what it's like to change some of the worst habits and change them into looking half decent and being healthier.
Yeah.
That matters more than looking half decent. But
and you mentioned something very important at the beginning, which is the simplicity. Like, you can have this, but this is the limit. Yeah. You can have this. So sometimes, like, overcomplicating things in our diet also, like, especially with, like, being around like South Asian community and culture and backgrounds. That also affects
it. The overcomplication of, like, in especially, there's this movement that normally happens in India that normally transpires over to the Western world. You've got the Ayurvedic, you've got the gut specialists, you've got the longevity specialists, you've got insert something specialists, and they're either in India or like in a local area around there, and they are completely detached away from real life. So they'll give you plans that are eat sauerkraut and toast for breakfast on a Monday, and then have 2 spoons of a Rajman, 1 spoon of a ghee, and then have, like, twist around on your head 7 times, and then take a shot of turmeric, whatever it is. Like, some of the plans that I've seen are crazy, and they're so detached away. And what that means is that when you see these plans and you see the consequences of those plans, which means they don't get done, because people can't follow stuff that they don't want to do, that are too overcomplicated, that change the family dynamics, and then makes the kitchen lifestyle an absolute hell with the 17 dishes to wash up every single day.
Yeah.
Nothing gets done over a 2-week, 3-week period. And even if you make it to a 12-week mark, by that point, you're so deprived of normal life that all you want to do is go back to normal life. And then all that complexity, all of that love and like kind of intricate details of gut specialists and probiotics this and sauerkraut that and, you know, chakras and mantra this, you end up just returning back to baseline at some point because you haven't changed habits, you haven't changed lifestyle, you haven't changed your education. You're just following something that you know you can never do for the rest of your life, but you're hoping it solves your problem. But most people don't realize that solving your problem is doing the thing that solves your problem, but more consistently forever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, doing a diet for 12 weeks, any diet for 12 weeks is awesome, but to keep that weight off, you continue to do a lot of the things that you did during the diet. So if you want your sauerkraut and toast for breakfast for the rest of your life, then cool, that would be great. But most people don't. They want normal shit. They want normalcy.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I guess, my beliefs and a lot of what I do is about social norms. So literally, from an ADHD brain perspective, I study trends and I look at patterns and I look at social norms. So, for example, a social norm is if you've got 10 friends and they all drink beer, and you go to, and you're the 10, you're number one, and they're 9. If you go to a restaurant together and they order the beer first, you're drinking that beer. 9 versus 1, it'd be unlikely unless you're really disciplined. And at that point, you're probably not needing our help. You know, it's normally the undisciplined people and unmotivated people. They need our help more than anybody. You're drinking a beer. Doesn't matter if you have 1 or you have 10. But as soon as they order that next one, I'll go on. That's a social norm. The social norm is if 9 people do it, you do it. Social norm is like if your mum makes chai and she's already made the chai, you're going to have it because you feel like she's already made it, so therefore I don't want it to go to waste. A social norm is not being able to leave food at a dinner table because you got your money's worth. And you know, if someone takes you out for dinner, you pick off the menu obviously on a lower cost perspective because someone's paying for you, but also you don't say no to the offered things that they offer you at that dinner table because you don't want to seem impolite. These are social norms that most people consider as, oh, but I'm just doing life, that actually throw you way off track. That doesn't mean you need to change them, but you need to acknowledge them and then change something else to not change that. So social norms, in my opinion, are what coaches do not tackle because they don't think it's important. But I think it's incredibly important. If you can't have, you know, social norm is having a pack of biscuits in your house and eating the pack of biscuits. That's not normal. Mm-hmm. Or the opposite, not having biscuits in the house because you're fearful of eating the full packet. That's not normal either. Like, how can a biscuit have a power over you that is in the fridge and it's making, not that biscuits in the fridge, but biscuits in the cupboards. You're fearful of those biscuits. They're biscuits. But that's a social norm. Most people feel that way.
Yeah.
If they buy biscuits, I'm eating all of them. I'm buying a full tub of Ben & Jerry's, I'm eating all of it. Not that you can't, but that's an expectation, which is normal.
Yeah, absolutely. This is super helpful as well to hear. Yeah. So you've worked with thousands of clients. Yeah. And can you share a story that completely changed you as a coach or as a man or even as a business owner?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest change that I had for me is going to be myself, right? Like the story that I've gone through, that will always shape you, your personal experiences. And I always say I've been the worst client that I've ever experienced is me. And because of that, I end up being a really good coach because I can smell BS a long while away. But I can also recognize when people try and always recognize when people change, always recognize how hard it is to go from the bottom to the top. But at the same time, I've already dragged myself there as well, so I know what is possible and can do. But I think if we're looking at real life results, there's a few that stand out. One is Prakash, who lost over 50 kilos with us. He was working with another coach who was very much do this or it's my way or the highway. And then he came in and completely revolutionized his fat loss. He was able to build more momentum, more consistency, more flexibility to the point where losing over 50 kilos. Wow. That's a whole person. You know, you've lost a whole person.
Absolutely insane.
And but done in a way where it was less aggressive than what he expected, more flexible than what he thought it was going to be. But he learned valuable lessons along the way, whether it was how to control his eating in social occasions, whether it was how to navigate the kitchen dynamics, how to say no to himself, how to be more disciplined, routined, and be more timely with his focus. And, you know, life skills, you know, how to eat slowly, like how long you should be taking on a meal, how to prep stuff in advance, how to take control when you're traveling for work, what to pick on a menu when you're socializing, how to drink but not compromise the results, how to go on holiday and not gain 5 kilos, which he's done many a time before. Those things where people learn along the way, and you can see them go back into the same environment. Let's say, for example, he went on a holiday the first time, gained 5 kilos. But like 6 months later, he went back to the same holiday, but gained 1 pound. That's same place, same situation, different response. That's change. Like most people don't see change as you need to do the same thing twice and have a different response. People think because I acted a little bit differently in a different environment, maybe that gives me the right to say that I changed. The only way that you change is that it's the same situation, same scenario, and you have a different response. So if you're like every Friday you go for a takeaway, like just because you acted well on Thursday or you did a low carb day on Saturday and made up for the weight, doesn't mean you change your habits for your Friday. Friday is when you get to 6 p.m. and you look at Deliveroo, what do you order? If you do that 3 weeks on the run and 2 weeks you order a pizza, and then the 3rd week and 4th week and 5th week you order, I don't know, chicken feeters, and that is beneficial for your goals, you've changed the habit. And therefore that's more beneficial because it's same response. He would do that anyway. The Deliveroo app's open. He's changed his behavior. They're the things that matter the most long term.
Yeah. And, you know, working with clients or like even with people changing their lives, helping them live a healthy lifestyle, that creates emotions for us coaches. What did you feel like that healed in you or even unlocked in your personality?
I think I guess the caring nature inside of me just wants to make sure that he doesn't fall into the bad things that I struggled with. So every step of the way, every social event, every accountability check-in, every like kind of week he went on his plans, you could see this step-by-step progress of like he's building the things that make him more resilient, building the things that are going to keep him long-term. Like I said, long-term for me has always been the thing I struggle with. I always used to gain my weight back all the time. So I have a special place in my heart for if people can keep the weight off. And if there are certain criteria of things, psychological, emotional, and physical traits that you need to have to be able to make sure that in 20 years' time, you're still not going to be gaining that weight back. If I see those being built, I'm like, we've got a winner. This guy, I'm not going to meet, like there's been situations where I've met people 3 years down the line, and in Pret in central London, I haven't recognized them because they'd gained so much weight back. I never want that to happen again. That was when I was personal training at a gym in central London. I never want that conversation even to exist. So if I see people making those steps to changing behavior that leads to long term, that unlocks like a thing in me that goes, I did my job. I did the best thing I could do. Because a gift, you can have like a nice Christmas gift, but imagine like the opportunity to feel great every day for 20 years or have a life that's an 8 out of 10 every day as opposed to a 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Speaking about weight loss, by the way, what do you feel is the most misunderstood part about Indians losing weight, you know, with these misconceptions that like, you know, the myths of like, body types and whatnot?
Yeah. So we're at a point now with life that it's irrefutable that you can lose weight and that everyone has the capabilities to lose weight on a consistent week-to-week basis. So South Asians and Indians may have different areas where they store the fat in the midsection, maybe around their face, the chubby cheeks, whatever it is. But it's irrefutable that will not come down providing you are doing a calorie deficit and you are losing weight consistently and you are following things accurately enough. So there are things what will frustrate Indians and South Asians more, which is like the time in which it takes to see the result in the midsection. That's totally cool. But it doesn't mean that fat isn't coming off everywhere else, and you just have to exert patience. So scientifically, genetically, physiology-wise, yes, the storage and what happened to you and where it gained is there. You just have to sit with that one and deal with it to some degree. Right? I didn't choose that I'm 5'5". I didn't choose that I got blonde hair. I didn't choose that I've got like small hands and wrists, which means I've got terrible grip strength. I didn't choose that I'm not genetically massively muscled. I have to work on those and have worked on those. And it's the same with the community. But what they do after, so these genetics, these risk factors, these commonalities, and then equals, and then now what are you going to do? Now what do you do with that information? It determines everything. So they can get the fat off the same way everybody else can. They can lose body fat. They can get in a healthier position. They can lose the type 2 diabetes. They can reduce their risk factors for cardiovascular disease. They get all of those benefits. They just have to get past the excuse or the baseline that they sit at. Mm-hmm. But if I list out all the baselines that I had when I was 21 or 22, you know, that whole statement where it's like, oh, if we all put all our problems in the middle of a table, you'd probably pull your own back out. Yeah. I think most people would forget that too. So it's not good or worse or better or worse, like a ratio or rate ranking, but it's like, it's just where you store fat, and change will be hard because maybe if you adopt a full, like a traditional lifestyle, there are a lot of things that you'd need to change in order to get that fat off. That feels a bit weird.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's great to hear. I'm going to wrap up with this question. Let's say young Nathan, before everything happened, was seeing you. What would he think?
I don't know. I never reflect, so it's really, really difficult to look at because I'm always looking forwards and what is the next thing. I think he'd be pretty happy. I think he'd probably disappointed that he never got to play football for a living, but I think overall that beacon or that light, that lighthouse that he got told he was going to be, he's becoming. He just had to remind himself that he's that. So I guess he'd be proud, but I think he'll be the same as I am right now, which is unsatisfied but happy.
What would you tell that young Nathan?
Good question. I wouldn't tell him to change anything. I know that. I don't know the exact words I would say, but I wouldn't change anything. I would stay. The lessons along the way are what make you where you are. So the pain, the knee pain, not being able to sleep, the binge eating, the moving countries multiple times, the loneliness, whatever it is that's got me here, those painful parts are the reason why the benefits also exist. So the pain of anything is your biggest strength. So use it.
Yeah.
Don't cry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bossman, it was a pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Thank you.
Me seeing you every day, I still learned a lot of things about you from today, so I'm pretty sure the audience will be excited as well. So, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you soon in another episode.
Perfect. Awesome.